Hello, this is Bad Vibes. Today's video is a compilation on deep and dark web horror stories. The first story, however, is brand new, fictional, and rather dark, so viewer discretion is advised. But if you proceed, sit back, hit that like button, relax, make sure you're subscribed, and enjoy. When I opened my eyes, I realized I couldn't move. Oh no, not this again, I thought to myself as my eyes shifted back and forth. Shadows danced around my room that I shared with my brother. I wondered what my brain has in store for me this morning, as these things get worse every time I have them. I watched as an old man slunk in my room. He had no eyes, a bloody hook for a hand, and a disturbing grin on his face. He walked towards me slowly, exaggerating each step as his eyes got larger and darker as he stared more intently at me. Suddenly he was right next to my bed, looking down on me. He got on one knee and put his hook in my face. I watched as the blood dripped off the tip and fell onto my face. Then he put the tip on my neck. Something slapped my face. My brother. Bro, why'd you do that? I asked, annoyed. You had that look on your face. You were scaring me. I'm alright. No, you're not. I told you it's just sleep paralysis. Everyone gets it eventually. I haven't, he said, all knowingly. You're related to me, so you might, patting his shoulders. Come on, let's get ready for school. I don't want to go to school, he whined. You have to. It's good for you. We have this conversation every morning. It's essential you go to school. Okay. I got up to get dressed in my usual black attire. I put my coat on, and I went to the kitchen where my brother was eating already. I take out a piece of pizza and eat it cold. When I'm done, I usher my brother out the door. On the walk there, we talked about school. As we neared his school, I watched him run ahead to his small group of friends. As soon as he got there, I ran to my school and ran to the library trying to finish my report before school begins. I type on the computer until the bell rings. I get up to walk to class, but I'm blocked by a jock. Hey, fuckface. Hello, parasite, I retorted. Oh, haha, good one, fuckface. He fake laughs and then pushes me back. I use this to make my escape as I run around him. As he comes at me, he practically races me to my classroom, and I make it in just in time. The jock isn't behind me. I complete my classes and go to the other side of school to pick up my brother. Hey, how was your day? It sucked, he complained. Oh, why's that? Some guy came up to me and told all my friends that you got beat up. Then they started picking on me because they said since you were weak, I was weaker. I looked him in the eye and said, do I look beat up? No, he said, but I know you could beat up that jerk. I could, but I won't, unless he were to pick on you. Don't worry about me, and as for your friends, I walked over to them and asked them the same question I asked my brother. They said no. I replied exactly and walked away. My brother and I walked home in silence. I greeted my mother and cooked dinner. My brother waited patiently. My mother watched TV. It was silent until she said, your father is coming home late tonight. Typical, my brother said. My mother turned to him slowly and said in a low voice, you know, without your father, we wouldn't have a food or house, so don't get that attitude, young man, or you will really feel what it's like to have no father. I put dinner in front of my brother and say quietly, just let it go. We eat in silence and go to our room. I want to run away, my brother says as he kicks his pile of dirty laundry. You will do no such thing. We just have to live with the resources we have, but it will be better without them. We can stow away on the strips and travel the world and have adventures. Maybe you should write a book. It would be epic, but I don't want you to make it a reality. Okay, he grumbled. I pull out my notebook and start doing my homework. Once I finish, I throw myself into bed and close my eyes. I woke up to crying, screaming, and thrashing. I get up and look on the top bunk and make sure my brother was alright. He wasn't there. I panic and run out to the hallway to see my brother being dragged on the ground by my stepfather. I run up to him and punch him in the face. My stepfather fell back, letting go of my brother. I pick up my brother and thrust him back to the door. Got up and started running, but my stepfather grabbed my foot and started pulling me down. I kicked into him and got out and fought as I yelled at my brother to lock himself in the bedroom and did not open it until I yelled the code word. I kicked my father multiple times until he toppled over. I ran and yelled the code word, heartache. He opened the door and I busted in and closed it and locked it. My father came to the door. You better open this door, or you're gonna get what your brother has coming to him. Please don't let him take me, Titus, my brother whimpered. Over my dead body. I yelled back without hesitation, but before I could finish, I stared as the crowbar slid through the crack of the door. Without hesitation, I hoisted my brother out through the window and told him to run. I grabbed my emergency backpack and was getting ready to follow him out, but was suddenly grabbed from behind. My father pulled me to the floor. Why did you let that little shit get away? To protect him from his own father, I yelled. He kicked me in the mouth. Shut up, boy. You're not my own, so maybe this won't hurt me as bad, he said, dragging me. I made an effort to leave the backpack in the room as I was dragged down the hallway to the living room. Here, take this one, I heard him say. This is not the one you promised me, Henry. I know, but the little shit got away. So take this one, trust me, I will find the useless little boy. I will give you 1/4 the price I originally offered for this one. Half. You're not in the right position to argue with me, Henry, the man said, raising the gun to my stepfather's head, causing him to raise his hands in defeat. As the guy continued to speak, you should be lucky I'm even paying you at all for this one, he said, looking at me and smiling menacingly. Take him, boys, he commanded, and like that I was swept away. As I was being pulled out the door, I noticed the muffled sound of my mother banging on the closet, screaming and begging for them not to take me, but she went ignored. I was thrown in the trunk of a limo. Thoughts raced through my head like cars on the highway. Half of them were of being exhausted, and the other half were ways to escape my demise. I was surprised when no more than 3 minutes later, the trunk opened. Honestly, boys, this is no way to treat our new guest, I heard a man say as he stuck out his hand. Come on, boy, let's take a look at you. Without thinking, I took his hand and allowed myself to be helped out of the trunk. What's your name, boy? Titus. Ah, yes, I did hear that poor woman mention your name a few times. What did you do to her? I asked defensively. Oh dear Titus, that woman's fate is out of my hands, he said with a voice that lacked sympathy. I felt like throwing up. I wished in the back of my mind she was unharmed. Now Titus, let's discuss your fate. You're too old to be on my website, but you do have a boyish, handsome face. I'll give you that. You run a child pornography site? I asked, disgusted. The man chuckled. No. Nice guess, though. No, my dear Titus. I traffic these children, make a profit. And the reason why I traffic the younger ones is because it's easier for people to teach them. But why should you have to worry about that? That is not your fate. Like I said, you're too old to teach, so what I want to do is put you on a less popular but still successful site. You will be treated like royalty before you're bought, because, after all, you can't let good meat go to waste. You're gonna sell me to a cannibal? Precisely, kid. Or more like parts of you. His answer is so straightforward. You better enjoy the last days. I threw up. The thoughts of me being eaten by another human being contorted and took life in my mind. It made me sick to my stomach. It made me gag. It made me actually throw up my dinner. The action took the man by surprise. I used this opportunity to slam my fist into his cheek. The man who threw me in the trunk pounced on me, but I was quicker and got them off. I had taken lessons of self-defense, Tai Chi, and I knew how to win. The two fell on the ground as they collided into each other. I grabbed the man by his neck and started choking him. Something hit the side of my head, knocking me over, allowing the man to scramble away. I looked up quickly as I saw one of the two bodyguards' foot. He stomped my head into the concrete multiple times until my vision blurred and I eventually blacked out. Is he dead? No. Good. I want him to suffer now. Likewise, said the bodyguard as he tossed me into the trunk. You really came through for me. You shall be rewarded greatly. Thank you, sir. So what do you want? That boy. Confused look spread over the boss's face. I didn't know you were a cannibal. You might not know a lot about me, boss. True. The boss thought for a minute. I'll give you a major discount for him. $70. The bodyguard's eyes lit up like a child on Christmas. Deal. When I woke up, I stared in the wooden ceiling and tried to move, but I was tied down with what felt like leather straps. That was quite a display you put on, Titus. For a second there, I didn't understand what he was talking about. Then I realized he must have been talking about when I almost killed the guy. Almost. It was good that I saved my boss, because now I can have you. The bodyguard? You seem surprised. What do you want with me? I asked angrily, growing tired of being tossed around by people. Pleasure. New thoughts came to my head. Am I going to be raped? No, this can't be happening. "Don't worry, it's probably not what you're thinking. It's a lot worse," he said as he picked up a hacksaw. What freak show was I dragged into? I could feel cold sweats running down my face. I was starting to panic. I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. My voice was gone. My tears were rushing. My sweat was getting in my eyes, blurring my vision. The bodyguard laughed gleefully as he put the hacksaw down onto my face, slicing my eye in half. My voice found me, and I was screeching at the top of my lungs. I was blind in one eye. Blood formed a puddle on my eye socket. This was the end for me. I was going to die in this room with this deranged man who was now talking to himself. I looked at him with my last eye and saw it. No, he wasn't talking to himself. He was talking to a camera. He was filming this whole thing. As soon as I noticed, the man turned around, throwing something and hitting me square in the other eye. It was a needle of a dart. I was now completely blind. All I could hear was the sound of me screaming, and nothing else. Blood filled my mouth like a tidal wave. I started choking, suffocating, as blood poured down my throat. He had cut off my tongue. I could no longer mutter a sound, other than my desperate wheezing sounds. I could hear the man more clearly now. Ah, isn't this better? Now I can hear myself. And speaking of hearing, should I allow my subject to hear his ultimate demise, or should I take it as he doesn't want to know what's coming next? There was a pause, and a giggly laughter. 47 of you voted for the boy to have his hearing taken. 179 of you want him to keep it, and some of you can't make up your mind. I'm talking to you, Shelby Lee Carroll, at 783 Cornell Street, South Carolina, Ashton Cooper, 456 Wall Street, New York, and Henry Faulkner, boy's father, 722 Copper Lane, LA. The recognition of my address must have changed something in what I imagine, my miserable looking face, because the bodyguard let out a howl of laughter. It was at this point I had not realized that he was not only filming this, but it was a live stream. Yes, that's right, my lovely viewers. This boy is special. His own father sold him for $1,500 to my boss. This boy is very skillful and nearly escaped, but I stopped him by stomping his head into the cement a few times, which is something I quite enjoyed. And say, Henry, did you find that little shit? A pause. Still looking, I see. And when he finds him, he's selling him to my boss for child trafficking. Well, at least if I don't find him first, he said, letting out another howl of laughter. I was dying inside. It's bad enough that this was happening to me, but if it happened to my little brother, I would never forgive myself in whatever afterlife comes after this hell. By now, I couldn't tell the difference between tears and blood and the sweat, but I knew I was crying. I know I couldn't speak, but right now I was screaming every curse word in the book. A blade touched my neck, slicing my shirt and my skin in half. You're ripped, Titus. I wasn't sure whether he meant my shirt or my body, or if this was a crappy pun describing both. The next thing I heard was a searing sound, as I felt a hot iron touch my body. I couldn't scream. All I could do was feel the iron, and there wasn't anything I could do to express my unbearable pain, but gasp and gag. That bastard rubbed that thing down my body, searing my skin. I wanted to die. You're hot, he said jokingly. I prayed for death. The man was laughing more and more as he did these things to me, cut me multiple times, then dosed my cuts with hot chili pepper sauce. He cut off my fingers one by one, making comments and puns, and then asking the audience what he should do next in between tortures. All I could do is gasp, pray, and listen until I heard the bastard striking up a conversation with my stepfather again. I'm getting bored with this subject, but before I finish him off, Henry, I want you to decide how to finish off the boy. He is your son after all. There's a pause. I'm sorry, can you say that out loud, Henry? My bastardly stepfather's voice rang out and echoed through the room. I said, burn that little deadbeat, no good bitch alive. I heard the familiar voice of my father. No. I heard the screaming of my mother in the background. Shut up, bitch. Your deadbeat son was no good in the first place. Ooh, drama, the monster sang as he cut them off. Well, you heard the man. He wants to burn this little no-good deadbeat alive. Now, hold on a second while I get my gas can. I heard the floorboards creak as he walked away. I used this time to reflect on my situation. I tried to imagine what I looked like. I tried to imagine the sick crowd of people watching my demise. I prayed some more and more that my brother would get out safe. My life flashed before my eyes. In my thinking, I heard something. It must have been my imagination. It was a whimpering, a crying, a familiar sound. Titus, I'm sorry. Was that? No, it couldn't be. Before he comes back, I'm going to put you out of your misery. The last stab I received was to the heart, and the last thing I heard, good night, fuckface. The boy then turned from my corpse. That once was a schoolmate that he bullied, but he did not deserve all that. No, not like that. I never knew his dad was such a sick fuck. Heck, I never knew that my dad was even sicker until I decided to get something from the basement today. All I knew is that his and my father did not deserve to be alive. I turned to the camera and said, I know where you all live, and I will find you. I will kill all of you for letting this poor soul suffer. People like you disgust me, and after I finish off your host, Henry, you're next. People were logging off now. The show was over. Only a few stayed to watch the host die, I suppose. I hid in my hiding spot and heard the creaking of the floorboards. The monster, who was my father, walked in. Oh, why did so much people... But I did not allow him to finish his sentence. I pointed a gun at him and shot him in the head. I stomped his head until it was vanquished. Then I calmly took note of the names and addresses of the people who viewed this event. I poured gas around the two corpses and lit a fire. I walked away from the house in flames. Titus will not die in vain. I will find them all. I will kill them all, as I promised I will. Sadly, I never got to tell Titus how sorry I was, and not for only how he died, but for also how I treated him, and how I was shocked that my father was doing this. I couldn't save him. Seeing my father transfer into a monster sent me out of my mind. And now the only thing matters is how I'm going to first find his no-good stepfather. And even better, Titus' stepbrother, because not only did I want to kill the man, but I also wanted to save his stepbrother and his mother. Maybe if I did this, in whatever afterlife he is in, he'll forgive me, and maybe even rest in peace. This happened just 2 days ago, and I'm saying this now because I forgot about him, but he has just messaged me. Now that that is out of the way, this story isn't about a red room, or any fake shit. Trust me, I've been on the deep web for 3 years. Not once have I seen one of those things. I mean, I've seen videos of people getting killed, but not live feeds or anything. But the site I so happened to come across, they had a link that was a bunch of random letters, and if you use Tor or something along those lines, you know what I mean. This link was sent to me via email, and the email read as this: click this if you dare, with a smiley face. Now, I was thinking probably exactly the same thing that you're thinking right now. I'd either heard or read that, and another damn troll was trying to scare people. So I clicked the link, and it was nothing like I hadn't seen before. Drugs, blood, cheesy sound effects, and I was just sitting there laughing it off because I was thinking, I guessed right. But when I clicked the image of the weed, or some shit, I was sent to another page, and out of the page that I was currently in. Keep in mind, I have a VPN, and also an IP scrambler, for safety reasons. But when I was sent to this page, for the first time out of 3 years that I had been on the deep web, I had never had a site switch to a different site on me. So I was thinking I must have misclicked, but then it made my full screen a black web page. But when I clicked on my screen, an error message popped up saying, "We're sorry, but we are afraid to tell you that you cannot leave this page. We are sending you to an admin right now. Please wait." So out of pure curiosity, I stayed and let it load. Then a video popped up, or should I say a webcam. I was thinking that I was going to be talking to someone about the site that was clearly fake, and then a person with a normal face, top hat, black trench coat, and also black gloves appeared. Keep in mind that since stuff like this had happened before, I wear stuff that doesn't allow you to see my skin color, including gloves that go all the way up to my elbows. Yes, I know that those are mostly meant for females, but I custom made mine, so they have black widows crawling down them, and it looks pretty badass. I was wearing a plain white hoodie and a hockey mask, and also I kept my hoodie up. When the webcam appeared, I wasn't scared since there was no way that they could see what I looked like, so that just pissed him off. I got closer to the camera and said, "Can you see my face now?" That seemed to anger him, and he said, "Don't test me. You come to my site without an invite?" After that, I went back in my chair and said, "Okay, first of all, I got sent this link via email, and this site is clearly fake. I mean, what do you take me for, a fool?" That's when he said, "I use this fake webpage to click the link via the picture, and then I send them here. It seems you did that." Then I replied, "I did that because I wanted to see how horribly overpriced a bag of fake-ass weed was going to be, and it seems that you're the drug dealer. So can I have some weed, please? I said that last part, just to fuck with him. And then he got really mad, and kinda did the noise that a 10-year-old makes when they get pissed. And he said, "Don't test me." I knew this prick wasn't gonna do anything, so I so-called tested him again, and said, "I ain't your teacher, but if you want a math quiz, I'll be glad to give you one." He replied, "That's it, I'm getting your address, and we're gonna meet." "Oh no, please don't. I don't want to meet you. You're too scary." Then I turned my IP scrambler and VPN off so he could get my real IP, because I had a little surprise for him. Then he typed my IP in the chat box, and I replied, "Oh, good job, you found it. It seems you are getting the hang of this stuff. How would you like it if I gave you your IP?" He said, "Do it. More likely you can't." So I used a couple of programs, and maybe 3 minutes later, both of us were doing the same thing when I said, "Got it. And I also got some other things too." So I typed in the chat box his name, address, phone number, and also the same thing for his sister and his mother. I must have scared the living shit out of him. Oh god, I wish he saw his face. I was laughing so damn hard, and when I was done, he said, "I'm coming to meet you. You better prepare to die." I had some illegal weapons that I had already bought off the deep web. A mini Uzi, a shotgun with a drum mag, and an also very deadly military-grade sniper rifle. And then I said, "Oh, please do come over. I would really like to meet you." And then I moved to the left because the guns were sitting behind me. They were in the dark, so you couldn't see them from the angle of the webcam, but the light of the PC screen sent a bright light beam to the wall where my guns were sitting. And keep in mind, I live in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and the nearest house is 4 miles south or north of me, so I could shoot my guns and no one would hear them. I say this because what he said next. "Those things are fake." And I said in a childless way, "Oh no they're not." And that's when he said, like most people would say, "Prove it." So I took the sniper rifle and then grabbed the tripod and connected it. I used this so many times that I know the difference metal and plastic make when they barely touch, let alone lock into each other. It seems like he didn't know that sound so normally, so he needed me to shoot to show him that it was real. So I put the sniper rifle out of my window, then shot a tree about a half a mile away. And it was an easy hit, because this thing was such a beast when it comes to shooting. And then he said, "I ain't afraid of a sniper. The one that I was afraid of was that shotgun." So I took the shotgun and shot that one too. And then he jumped on and said, "Stop with the sound effects." And I said, "Okay, first of all that isn't possible. And second, I want to meet your sister and your mother. What weapon do you want me to bring with me?" And then he screamed, "Please don't. Leave them out of this. I will leave and we won't meet. I'm sorry I scared you." And just like that, he shut down his site and never bothered me again until that message. The message reads, "Thank you for not attacking my family. I'm sorry for what I did, and I want you to know that the site is shut down." I only shot those weapons to scare him. I wasn't actually going to do shit. I ain't a murderer. I'm a hacker. When I was younger, I liked to window shop at the deep web. It wasn't anything serious. I would just look at the prices of various substances and how to get them delivered. That was my first exposure to cryptocurrency, and I wish I had never bought my first Bitcoin. There's a forum out there. I wish I could tell you that it was dead and buried by now. But I know it isn't. I know because they're still tracking me. The first thread I read, there seemed like some kind of gambling action. Admins would take bets, and the users would place them. But the bets weren't on sports or horse racing, not even on cockfights. They were on suicides. Who would do it when, and why? Who would push them over the edge, and be the straw to break the camel's back? In order to place any bets, I would have to exchange Bitcoin for Deathcoin. The process was difficult, very difficult for a kid in high school. But when I finally did, it was exhilarating. The person I chose was, at the time, another high schooler. Her name was Karen, and she was in the same town that I am, but went to a different school. Once the bet was placed, I was delivered via PDF a dossier on her life. I knew her habits and routines. I knew how long it took her to wake up in the morning, and how long it took her to go to sleep. I even knew her favorite color, which was blue. I bet that after a year of harassment, she would be in a wooden box 6 feet under. The admins would dedicate a thread to each victim for updates on their progress, and each victim had several field workers dedicated to them. They received the same dossier I did. The difference is that they went outside and put it to use. Field agents would covertly harass her in all ways, graffiti directed at her, speaking about her all day within earshot, and the most daring agents broke into her house regularly. They didn't steal anything though. What they did was move her furniture, ever so slightly, in the same direction for months. Needless to say, this brought her past her brink. Karen began hearing voices in her head, and she couldn't distinguish them from the ones outside. They would all tell her the same thing: kill yourself. And so on the first Friday of October, she exited her parents' house and made it into the garage with her mother's keys. The engine sparked and the exhaust filtered from the muffler into the car. She passed out an hour later. The field agents had won like they always do. Congratulations, Karen Walters was found dead this morning in your mother's car. The lucky winner is user number 228305504. Attached to the thread was the article about the suicide. My number was just a few days before the winners, so I lost hundreds of bucks, but I did get to watch someone spiral down for a year. Like I said before, it was exhilarating and well worth it. Who wouldn't pay $100 for front row seats of someone ending it? We all would. Humanity is a dark thing, and I'm no exception. But the loss left a bad taste in my mouth, so I never placed another bet. I didn't even return to the forum for years, until I noticed my couch was slightly out of place. Cold sweat beaded down my neck, and I turned my computer on and fired up Tor for the first time since high school. It took some digging, but I finally found the site, and there I was, a whole thread dedicated to me. I was chosen, but I have something that the others don't. I know what you're doing, and I'll be coming for you. I had always been aware of the deep web. You hear the craziest, most messed up stories from people who have enough balls to explore it. Websites that involve human experimentation, hiring a hitman, and watching people through their own security cameras. It's fucked up. But honestly, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't slightly interested. Now, just to point out, there's no malicious intent behind my exploration of the deep web. I was just curious to see if it was really as bad as people said it was. The first thing I stumbled on was a website extremely centered around death, which gave me a really uneasy feeling, so I didn't really hang around that webpage very long. It takes quite a bit to freak me out, so it's safe to say I was a little surprised that I couldn't even stomach the first website I clicked on. But hey, it's not supposed to be unicorn and rainbows, right? Next, I clicked a website that was dedicated to watching people through security cameras. Most of the screens showed empty living rooms and patios. Some of them showed oddly filled rooms, like rooms that were packed with stuffed animals, and another that was eerily decorated with fucking Christmas lights and fake Santa Claus statues. Another screen showed a young woman doing yoga. That one had a lot of views, but I didn't watch that one very long. Something inside me just felt ill and just wrong. Like what I was doing was sickening. I shook my head, blinking away any more curiosity before I hovered the mouse over the tiny X to close the window. Right before I pressed the mouse, I saw a blue link under the black screen that said, "Proceed with caution." I bit down on my back teeth, yelling internally to leave the page and don't click the link. It's not worth it. It could be murder. Would that make me an accomplice? What if someone was skinning an animal or some shit like that? But then again, what if it wasn't? I don't know what the hell propelled me to move my mouse away from the window and hover over the link instead. But that's where I ended. My curiosity always got the best of me. And no matter how twisted my stomach felt, or how strong the feeling of dread was that lingered right over my head, I had to know. I really just had to know where the link led to, or it would drive me crazy until I finally found out. So, I pressed my mouse down and watched the link turn purple. I felt my mouth go dry as I watched the screen slowly loading. The page was comprised of a large screen, like a security camera page, only just one. The room was concrete and was dark. There must have been a night vision camera or something, but everything was a weird blue-green tinge. But you could tell that there was little to no light. There was a dark liquid on the floor, in a medium-sized puddle. I told myself it was gasoline. Don't ask me why. Movement in the far right of the screen caught my attention, and I immediately perked up in my desk chair, inching my face closer to the screen of my laptop. It looked like an arm, like someone's forearm. They're standing there, not really moving, but subtly swaying, just enough not to look completely still. "Hey," I said, before shaking my head and slapping my mouth shut. "Stupid." Then, the person walked. They walked towards the left of the screen. I felt my stomach knot, felt my throat tingle and tighten, bile raising up the back of my throat. I knew my mouth was open, gaping, and my eyes were wide, face screwed up into an expression of pure disgust. It was a young woman. She looked like she couldn't have been older than 25 or so. Long, dark, and dirty hair, in tangles, like she'd been pulling at it. Her leg was dragging. Her other skinny leg was doing most of the work as she limped weakly. Her head was down, looking at the floor. The sound of her dragging her foot across the concrete echoed in my silent room. I didn't think it could get any worse. I was so fucking wrong. Suddenly, the woman raised her head, and it looked like it weighed a ton on her teeny body. I hadn't noticed it before, only able to barely make out the side of her profile. But now it was clear as day. She looked around, her eyes watering with tears, and black makeup streaming down her face. Small strands of bloody thread were entwined in her lips, messily tied, locking them together. Dark blood stained her chin, probably from where she tried desperately to open her mouth, to scream, before realizing she couldn't. Her dainty fingers were stained as well, the same color as a puddle on the concrete. My whole body felt weak. My stomach was sick. I tried to tell myself it was fake, that this was all a big hoax. My eyes scanned to the bottom left of the screen. 5,623. There were 5,623 people watching this. Unable to fight it any longer, I ran to the bathroom, puking inside my toilet bowl. Everything in me felt disgusting, wrong, and just twisted. Once I was finally done, I laid on the floor in the bathroom, letting the cool tiles try to soothe my burning body. My head was spinning. I kept repeating to myself over and over again in my head that I shouldn't have clicked that link. I should have left. I should have closed the fucking window and told my inner curiosity to fuck itself. Instead, I'm laying on the floor, the bathroom reeking of vomit, and my mind in a complete mess over what the hell I was supposed to do. Should I get the link and send it to the police? Should I call them now? My first instinct was to copy and paste the link, just in case, then call the police and inform them of what just happened. Maybe they could trace the IP address or something. Maybe they would recognize the girl and know where to start looking. Maybe I could save their life. I would feel really dumb if this was fake, just to get viewers. But I wasn't about to gamble, not with what was at stake. I ignored the dizzy feeling flooding my head as I jumped up, grabbing the doorknob and twisting it a bit too harshly. When I flung the door open, my phone buzzed in my pocket, scaring the living shit out of me. I stopped mid-panic and picked up with a shaky hand. I saw my girlfriend's name and immediately slid to answer. My voice was a complete wreck, my eyes finding the screen where the girl shrunk down to the ground. The sound of her cries all around my room, making my body feel rigid. I had nothing to throw up, but I still felt sick. "Madeleine, you're not gonna believe what I just fucking saw." "What? Are you okay? Have you been crying?" "No, I'm not okay." Averting my eyes to the screen. "I know you said to stay away from the deep web, but... Are you kidding me?" Her voice went from caring to mad in a split second. "I told you to stay away from that place. You never listen to me. You never fucking do." "There's a girl," I said weakly. "She's trapped in some basement. Her mouth is sewn shut. There's blood all over her face. I don't know what to do. Madeleine." The girl's cries got louder, more desperate, but muffled. "I'm so sorry. Close it out, clear your history, and never go back there again. I'm not kidding. But should I call?" "No." Her voice was stern now. "You don't know if it's bullshit. It's probably staged to gain disgusting viewers, apparently like yourself. People do it all the time. That's why I said it's best that you stay away from there. You can get yourself into a lot of trouble. I didn't say anything, wordlessly walking over to my desk. My hands shook as I raised the mouse to the small X once more. My eyes watched as the number of viewers slowly ticked higher and higher before I closed the window. I felt even worse than before. Okay, we can report them tomorrow, just in case, but for now just go to sleep and stay the hell away. I can't believe you went there in the first place. I didn't have the energy to argue with her. Guilt plagued my whole body, drowning me. It was all I could feel. I told her good night, that I was sorry and I loved her, before I hung up and made my way to the couch to sleep. Or try to sleep. I didn't feel right, not while that girl was still trapped, unable to scream for help, unable to talk at all. I know it could be fake, but was that a risk I was willing to take? I looked up some Google searches over what is fake on the deep web, and I read multiple stories about staged webcam videos, which made me feel a bit better. It didn't make the sick, guilty feeling go away, though. It's safe to say I didn't get much sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, or even began to drift off, I would see the woman's face, the thread laced into her lips, and the blood staining on her mouth, her fingers, and the floor. I continued to grow more anxious and uneasy, deciding to maybe get out of the house. Heading over to the local CVS and picking up some melatonin might help. I threw my blanket off, slid my shoes on, and grabbed my keys and wallet from the nightstand. The cool air felt amazing and did wonders to calm my whirlwind of thoughts in my head. I went to check the time, realizing I left my phone at home. Not a huge deal. The store was only a few minutes away from my house. I ended up buying melatonin and a stronger sleeping pill just in case that didn't work. I also got a pack of bottled water to help rehydrate after I vomited all the contents from my stomach earlier. By the time I got home, I felt much, much better, which lasted about 3 seconds before I noticed that my front door was wide open. Now, I may have been in a state of shock or panic, but I never ever would leave my front door open or even unlocked. My heart immediately began to race. I got out of my car, closing the door quietly, and unlocking my trunk and grabbing a crowbar that I kept in there. "Who's there?" I yelled into the house, waiting for any noise. "Who is in there?" My own voice was shaking and weak. I was met with complete silence, keeping the crowbar up, ready to strike. I walked to the couch and felt for my phone. As soon as I found it, I hit the emergency button and waited till I got a hold of 911, letting the operator know that I think someone had broken into my house. She told me that the police were on their way. After checking around the house for anything odd, I decided to give my girlfriend a call, letting her know what happened. The phone rang, and rang, and rang some more. After getting the voicemail, I hung up, knowing that she was probably asleep since this was late at night. I waited about 20 minutes or so for the police to show up, and walked them in like a scared puppy as they checked every room. They ended up having me just fill out a report, and they would keep a patrol car in the area just in case someone else gets hit. As they were leaving, I checked to see if Madeleine had called back yet, but there wasn't any missed calls. I, however, did notice several outgoing calls to her cell phone. At 3:12, 3:14, 3:17, and 3:20, and another one at 3:56, which was around the time I had gotten home. My mind went into automatic panic, knowing the fact that I did not make these calls. I quickly checked my text, reading that I apparently sent her a text at 3:23. "Hey, can't sleep, coming over. Mind leaving the back door unlocked so I can get in?" I didn't send that message. My stomach dropped. My heart thudded loudly in my chest. And I noticed a reply directly underneath. "Sorry, I was sleeping. Thanks for waking me up, by the way. Lose your key again? It's unlocked. Don't be too late." Without a second thought, I jumped, running to lock all the doors and windows in my house, keeping the crowbar tight in my hand as I ran to my car. I drove as fast as my little Civic would allow me to, all the way to her house, ignoring any stoplights It only took me 3 minutes to get there, but I still knew I would be too late. I made my way to her back door, feeling every cell in my body burn when I saw it wide open. My face was hot, my hands were shaking, but I stepped in, crowbar raised like a bat, ready to swing. I tried to keep my emotions at bay as I looked around the dark house. "Madeleine," I called out. "Are you okay, babe?" Nothing, just silence. "Madeleine!" A small scream came from her bedroom, just up the stairs. My legs jerked to run as I flew up the stairs, slamming her door open. I looked at her empty bed, her empty room. Confused, I heard her scream again, only this time, I heard it was coming through her computer monitor. I felt numb as I looked at the screen, noticing the same website I saw earlier. Only instead of one woman, I saw two. The first was laying on the floor, not moving, in the puddle of dark liquid. I recognized the second girl, just as I had recognized her voice. My heart shattered as I saw her face, streaked in blood. The same threading was sewn into her eyelids, locking them shut. Her screams hit my bones, surrounding my body. It's all I could hear. Her face was twisted in pure horror. I cried as her voice was beginning to go out and continued to grow weaker and more rasped. I locked my jaw, picking up my cell phone and dialing 911 for the second time. This time it only rang once before a deep, gravelly voice from another man answered. "You shouldn't have called." Chills shot down my body, and I heard the phone hit a thud as it hit the carpeted floor. My breath hitched in my throat, and I bent over to pick it up. Hanging up the call and racing downstairs. How did he do that? How did he redirect my call away from the police? I felt my heart race as I darted to her back door. In a frenzy, I sprinted to the closest house. I pounded on the door, screaming on the top of my lungs, until the neighbors opened it. Her face was tired, confused, and scared. She let me in, and I explained in frantic tears what happened. I'm typing this on my phone as we both get a hold of the cops, but neither of our cell phones are going through, and neither was her landline. I think someone is messing with our signal, and it may have cut her line. But we're going to keep trying. I'm scared for me. I'm scared for my girlfriend, and I'm scared for her neighbor. I don't know what's going to happen to me. If you don't hear from me again, please take this advice and experience the heart. Stay away from the deep web. I'm a drug user, I'll admit it. Weed is my go-to, and I buy that off my friend. If, however, I want to get something a little heavier, like acid or coke, I just order it off the dark web. It's surprisingly simple, just a few clicks, some Bitcoin transfers, and then boom, I have the acid or coke in my P.O. box. But I'm also a curious guy. The dark web has always intrigued me. Up until a few days ago, I had only been on there to buy drugs off the site that my friend gave me. But late one night, I was sober and home alone, which was a rare thing for me. So, since I was bored, I decided to boot up the Tor browser and try to see some sort of fucked up shit on the dark web. If you've ever been on the dark web, you know that you cannot just search up red rooms or Hitman for Hire and get results. No, you have to find links to these types of websites. So I hopped back onto Google and tried to find some links to the messed up websites. I know it's weird to actively be searching for the worst, but as soon as I got on the dark web that night, I just had some morbid curiosity overcome me. Anyway, I spent a little while trying to find some links. Everything I found was either too tame for me, or the links didn't work. At this point I was ready to give up, and I wish I had. But, in one final attempt, I clicked on Reddit, hopping onto the deep web subreddit. I didn't think I would find anything, so I just scrolled through the hot posts for half an hour before sorting by new. Then I found it. One simple post titled Slayer's Assassination and Life-Ruining Services. In the text box of the post was what seemed to be just a random assortment of numbers and letters. ZY3DKTCUBKQ2Y3 for those that are curious. It took my tired brain a few seconds to figure out what it was, but I realized pretty quickly it was a link, presumably to a Hitman site. So, I decided to paste a link into my deep web browser, and what do you know, it worked. But before I decided to go any further, I figured I should go back to the OP's profile to see if they posted any other dark web links. However, when I went back to the post in question, The OP's profile was deleted, which was weird. Anyway, I reopened my dark web tab and hopped onto the site. Up along the top of the website was the name, Slayer's Assassination and Life Ruining Services, and next to that, what looked like to be a skull inside of crosshairs. I chuckled when I saw it. This site must be fake. Upon scrolling down, however, I was not disappointed. There was a paragraph of text on black background and a small box to the right of the text that just said, "Place an order." The text was the main part though, as it took up most of the page. It read, Slayer's Assassination and Life Ruining Services offers everything from acid attacks, crippling, blinding, castration, torture, beating, and good old death. We have the lowest prices out of any other company running similar services, and we are worldwide. We have a dedicated and experienced group of staff based all over the world. So if you need someone to be assassinated, or maybe just want them scarred for life, don't hesitate to contact us. As I laughed, this had to be satire, right? Hell, I was even tempted to order it on someone, just to see what would happen. Ironically, I actually had a half-decent job, so I could afford it too. Better not risk it though, I thought to myself. I was about to close my computer and call it a night when I heard a knock at the door. I live alone, so it's unusual to get visitors, especially this late at night. But when I opened the door, it was just my good buddy Mark, who also happened to be my dealer. As I opened the door, he didn't hesitate to shove a big baggie full of pot in my face. This dude is the best shit I've had in a minute. We gotta try some. I couldn't say no. Cut to a couple hours later. It was the morning and Mark and I were chilling on the couch, both blazed. He suddenly decides to get up, I assume going over to get some leftover pizza. But he walks over to my desk and a computer. Slayer's Assassination? Are you gonna kill someone or something? What? Your computer, dude. It's got some hacker shit on it. It's a deep web, man. Don't mess with it. At this point, I was still on the couch, half asleep, not paying full attention. However, I sat up pretty fast when he said the words, "Hey, let's hire a hitman on you." I hopped up and walked over to my PC. Part of my brain was screaming, no, what the hell are you doing? But a majority of my brain was thinking how funny would it be to hire a hitman on myself. So I agree. I did make him get off my chair though, because I didn't want him seeing my credit card numbers as I transferred some Bitcoin. At the end, after I wrote down my personal details, like my address, age, and even a photo, I selected what I wanted to happen to me. I selected a plain old assassination, as it was actually cheaper than some of the other things. I could have paid an extra couple of grand to be beaten before death, but even my high brain didn't want to splash too much cash into this. Anyway, I placed the order, and then got a confirmation email. And boom, it was done. A couple of clicks and I had ordered myself on the dark web. Mark and I laughed about it for a while, but then he left about a half hour later. I fell back asleep not too long after. I wake up around 9 a.m., which meant I got about 6 hours of sleep, even though it felt more like 3. I got up out of bed, threw on some track pants and a cotton shirt, and brewed myself some coffee before sitting down to play some games and just enjoy my Sunday. You can imagine how shocked I was when I saw that I had ordered my death the previous night. Even though I thought it was bullshit, I still felt a pit open up in my stomach. Even when I was high, I usually made sensible decisions. I chuckled. Not like I could remember it anyway, but I guess Mark's new shit was really good. I would assume a normal human being would do something else, but I was still out of it from the night before, so I just carried on with my day. I was a little bit more paranoid, sure, but I just assumed that it was all bullshit. I even laughed at the email I got from the website, saying that their human had been dispatched and was on its way. It was like ordering a package from Amazon. I was tempted to email back and ask for same-day delivery, but I didn't need to ask, because that's exactly what I got. I didn't see it arrive, but it was around the time I started cooking myself a shitty dinner that I noticed a blacked-out sedan parked on the other side of the road of my house. I didn't live in a rural area, but there was a lot of trees and bushes between each of the houses on my street. At that point, I was freaking out. What if the sight was real? Even though I'm a big guy, I was freaking out. I don't own any weapons, aside from a slightly larger than average kitchen knife. Fuck it, I'm confronting it, I decided. I put my hoodie on and slid the knife into my front pocket before waltzing out of my house and walking right up to the driver's side window of the vehicle. Even I was astonished by my own courage. Knocking on the window, nothing happened. It was rather anticlimactic. I was fully prepared to have the fight of my life, all because I did something really dumb when I was baked. But like I said, nothing happened. I even put my head right up to the window to try to get a better look to see what's inside. I could barely see inside the car, but I could still make out that there was 2 empty seats. No one was even inside. I got all hyped up for nothing. I decided to wait out by the car for a bit, but after about a half an hour, I was hungry and decided to go back inside to take the dinner out of the oven. I swear, it was only a minute between me going inside to take out my dinner and looking back out the window, and the sedan was gone. I didn't even hear it go. Guess I'm eating dinner with my curtains closed and doors locked, I muttered to myself. I just started to calm down when the power shut off. It was still sunny outside, and coupled with the car, I knew this was a real deal. I had signed my own death warrant. I ran upstairs to my bedroom and locked the door, and I hid under my bed. I couldn't call the cops. What would I say? Oh yes, hey sir, turns out I was super high and paid someone $5,000 to kill me, and now he's arrived. Send an officer, please. So I stayed hiding under my bed, and I still am now. I've been here for an hour, now writing this. I know I'm screwed. Just a few minutes ago, I heard my back door slowly creak open. This piece of writing may seem humorous to you, the reader, but in reality, as you read this, I'm under my bed praying to God to let me go. But I know that won't happen. My bedroom door just opened, and I can hear a big pair of black boots. Do you know that a person can survive without water for only 3 days, but Gandhi was able to survive as much as 21 days without food? Those are the things I used to know as a normal student in a small town. I know none of those things anymore. I just know about rage and feeling constantly hungry. I was in my last year of high school and working a part-time job so I could save up money for higher education. Things were dull, but mostly fine until an otherwise normal afternoon after classes. It happened in the light of day. I was shoved inside a vehicle with expertise. I never saw the faces of the men that took me. I never saw their vans stinking of old blood and rancid food. I could only see the blackness of my blindfold and a taste of slight sweetness of the chloroform before I lost my senses. When I woke up again, I was completely naked in a poorly lit room. The state I was in it made me expect the worst, but there was no pain or bleeding indicating that kind of violence. It was cold, and there was a maddening dripping sound. Something was gleaming in the dark. As soon as I adjusted my eyes, I realized it was a knife. Drip, drip, drip. The small room had nothing but an already dirty toilet. The knife in the crack in the ceiling, dripping slimy, slightly green water. The walls and floors were gray and featureless. A very strong light, like a camera flash, popped in my face, blinding all my senses with a shock. It disappeared after a moment, and I heard a voice. You want to watch your suicide. Let's see how long it will take. It took someone unremarkable, frail, with nothing left to live for. But I know I had a purpose. I had to frustrate my captors. If they wanted to watch my suicide, I would have to be the most resilient person in the world. I wouldn't grant their wish. Back then, I didn't know I was being watched by a bunch of sick, twisted people who kept up with the daily misery in the comfort of their own homes and their anonymousness. I slept on the cold, hard floor. Food never came. The only source of water was the murky leak in the ceiling. I drank it, humiliated. It tasted worse than shit, and I would know that since I fed on my own waste during the first few days. The only indication that the day had ended was a blinding flash and the same cold, mocking voice telling me that they were surprised I made it this far. I was so hungry, so hungry. The room was getting hotter from my breathing every day. There was no proper ventilation. It seemed to be just enough to not let me die from carbon monoxide poisoning, a merciful death compared to the one they planned for me. I didn't know why they chose me. I still don't know. I never wronged anyone. I never excelled at anything to be a target of someone's envy. It was just a pointless act of evil. The fact that it was completely random made the hatred grow and, with it, my determination. My stomach hurt beyond words. I was constantly sick from the putrid smells all around me. My body ached all over. My skin was matted and flaky, my hair falling out from malnutrition. I grabbed the knife. I felt watched in cruel anticipation. Not today. I chopped off my left pinky and shoved it in my mouth before I could think too much about it. My own blood dripped down my chest as I chewed on my own bones. The crunching sound should have been so sickening. My teeth should have been hurting so much, or even breaking, bone against bone. I should have been horrified to defile a part of my own body, but I was just so happy to be eating. After that, I felt my body grow stronger every day. Like a member of the cannibal tribe on Papua New Guinea after ritualistically feeding on the departed loved ones. I laughed manically for hours at a time and trembled endlessly. But I was alive more than I have been in that captivity. I rationed my food and body waste. I needed my right hand, so it would be crucial to spare at least 4 fingers on it. But I was free to feed on my left hand. My toes were pretty much useless. I'd been dragging myself on the floor to move anyway. But I didn't need to feed on myself for long. No more than a week after I first took a bite of myself, the voice after the blinding flash had something else to say. "We're selling you." The official story is that I miraculously escaped my perpetrators during their flawed operation to move me to my new owner. And by the time I reached a neighbor and the police were called, they had already fled the crime scene. The investigation was kept very quiet, so it didn't make world news. Hell, I only made the local news as local teenager mutilated by unknown man. Someone even donated me a prosthetic hand. The police were able to take down the website where my daily torture was being streamed non-stop, and just then I found out that I was a star. I laughed for days because everyone felt so bad for me, not knowing that the torture I endured was way beyond losing a hand or a few toes. I laughed for days because I know the truth and no one else does. I know how. Right when they opened the door to my prison, my body felt like it was possessed by a bestial creature, and before I know it, I used my superhuman strength to crush the bones of 5 men all at once. Then I ate their flesh, corpse as well. I even licked the leftover blood from the walls before I opened the doors and headed to the closest house, dragging my bad foot. In that moment, I felt like I was the co-pilot of my body. The wheelsman was a voice screaming, "Kill and devour." I could have never escaped if something hadn't taken a hold of me. I'm not strong or even fast. I'd do anything to spend the rest of my life quietly, having my body, mind, and soul heal and recover from a devastating trauma. The problem is that eating raw flesh of my captors was the most pleasant experience I've ever had in my life. And while I've been chasing mercilessly all the monsters that watched me suffer for their own enjoyment, I'm too hungry. Their tainted flesh has not been enough for me. No, for us. This happened a few years ago. I haven't touched any technology after this happened until now. So I've been using technology since I was a kid. At 12, I learned how to write scripts and programs to hack into systems, and ever since, I was hooked. Fast forward, I'm in my 2nd year of university. I'm now quite good at hacking, albeit somewhat cocky. Throughout high school, I made a lot of money hacking. People would come to me normally to recover their hacked social media accounts, or hack into their boyfriend's phone to read their text messages. I was known as the guy to go to if you wanted something hacked. Even my school occasionally came to me for help if some script Kindle shut down the school's website with a low-orbit ion cannon. Like I said, I made a lot of money doing this throughout high school. Halfway through my 2nd year of university, I started getting bored of this. The money was good, but there was no longer a thrill. One of my friends told me about a cool thing called the dark web. I had heard a little bit about the dark web before, but it never seemed that interesting to me. My friend told me how there was full-on drugstores, weapons dealers, hackers for hire. As I was a hacker and a stoner, the dark web seemed right up my alley. When I got home that day, I fired up my computer and did some quick Googling. With my vast knowledge of technology, it didn't take me long to get set up and install Tor and Tails onto my computer. I sped through the hidden wiki, finding most of the websites boring or dead. I texted my friend asking if he had any interesting links. He replied, "Here's a few of the ones I use." He sent me about 5 links, 2 directories. I decided to click on the second one and see what I could find. I scrolled through the directory for a few minutes. He was right about how interesting the dark web was. I couldn't figure out where to start, so I clicked on a chat room. The website looked old and primitive, but surprisingly, there was one person online. I started talking to him. He seemed kinda shady, but it was better than scrolling through a bunch of dead websites. He said he's been on the dark web for a while. Finally finding someone with vast knowledge of what's on the dark web, I asked him if he had any interesting links. He sent me a link, then immediately left the website. I had no idea what was hidden behind the link. Looking back on it, oh god, I wish I didn't click it. At the time, my curiosity overwhelmed me. I clicked on the link without giving it a second thought. After it loaded, I was presented with a pop-up box. It said in red text, "If you don't know what's next, you're probably in the wrong place." There were 2 buttons, continue and leave. I instantly clicked continue, the biggest mistake of my life. It brought up a black screen page with blood red text on the top of the screen, "The Freak Show." In the middle of the screen there was a chat box. A message popped up with someone titled admin. He said hello. I said, "Hello, interesting website you got here." He replied, "Thank you. Are you here to view the show today?" I thought to myself, what show? Out of curiosity, I replied, "Yes." He said, "Since you're a first-time viewer, it will cost you $500 via Bitcoin in order to view the show. Future viewings are free." From all the money I made hacking, I had enough to fuel my curiosity, so I went ahead and paid the $500. After paying him, I was surprised. I was given a zip file instead of a link. I had developed a custom-made antivirus that appeared to work well, so I risked downloading it. When I went to unzip the folder, there was 2 files inside, an installer and a file named readme.txt. I started opening the text file. It said, "Do not send this installer to anyone, or else." I went ahead and closed the text file and opened the installer. It took about 15 minutes to install, which was strange for my computer. After installing, it opened automatically. Across the screen, it said, "Hello, welcome to the Freak Show. We use a custom program for our streams instead of live streaming on Tor. Due to Tor being kinda slow, we also needed extra security." After about 10 seconds, the screen changed to a countdown with a chat room next to it. At this point I started to feel whatever happened next would not be good. The timer displayed that there was 30 minutes until the stream started. I set my screen name to James Kent 157. Not my real name, but I needed an alias. I said hi in the chat, but was ignored. I waited 30 minutes, and after the timer hit 0, a video feed began. On the screen there was a guy with a mask, with 3 people side by side in front of him. He started speaking with a voice changer. "Welcome to the 26th stream of the Freak Show. We're happy to see all of our old viewers here and a few new ones. We will randomly choose who gets to choose who to kill first and how to kill them." At this point I realized I was fucked. I was in too much shock to close the window. I watched as the feed turned into a bunch of names scrolling by until it landed on someone named Gore725. I watched as he made his commands. First stab him in the kneecaps, then cut off his fingers. After that, gouge his eyeballs. When that's finished, drill into his stomach, and to finish him off, burn him with hot metal. I watched as the sicko did all of this. I watched the victim scream in pain. After everything was done, he said, "Now to the next one." After he said that, I snapped out of it and went to close the page. When I clicked the X, it said, "Sorry, no leaving midstream." I was trapped. The wheel popped up again, and this time it landed on me. I couldn't respond. Instead, I typed in the chat, "You sick fucks, why are you doing this?" I was met in the chat with people calling me a pussy and a dumbass. I then said, "I'm calling the police." I shouldn't have said that. The owner of the website said, "Call the police and you'll be on the next week's stream, Logan." This made my heart freeze. He knew my real name. He then said my parents' names, my address, school, age, and IP in the chat. I immediately went to the task manager to close the Tor program. As soon as the task messenger opened, it said, "Not responding." The guy said, "Don't try that in chat." I pulled the plug on my computer, and without a doubt, my screen went black. I ran to my parents' room and told them what happened, and said we had to move. They believed me and called the police. The police took care of everything and put us under police protection. Within a few months, they found the website owner. He was a 30-year-old man who lived off a combination of welfare and the money he made from this red room. It was many years later before I started using technology again. The dark web is an abyss of terrible things. If you're smart, you'll stay on the surface web, but I can't control what you do. One of the hottest trends on YouTube right now is ordering these random mystery boxes from complete strangers on the deep web and opening them on camera. I don't know why I didn't realize that a clear majority of these were fake and staged for the scare factor, but I didn't. I thought it was a great idea and hopped on the bandwagon to claim my YouTube stardom that I desperately longed for. For those who do not know a lot about the deep web, it's simply a part of the internet that isn't accessible from your basic Chrome, Firefox, or Explorer search engines. You must download the encryption program, Tor, and the Tor browser, for starters. It's not illegal to access this part of the internet, but since it's anonymous, a great deal of illegal actions happen there. The possibilities are endless. I grabbed my laptop I've had since I graduated in 2011 and download the required programs. I prefer to use my laptop over my desktop in case of viruses and such. My 7-year-old laptop is a little bit more disposable. I had a little Bitcoin phase a few years ago when it was blowing up, so I saved a little bit already. It wasn't much, only 0.1 Bitcoin, which translates to roughly $632, but it was enough to get what I was looking for. After all the downloads were finished, I opened the browser and started my journey at the Hidden Wiki website. They provide a lot of useful links to get started on the deep web. I scrolled through the warnings and gists of what it was and found the links I was looking for. Almost forgot, I muttered to myself as I grabbed the duct tape from my desk drawer. I cut a teeny square piece off and placed it over my webcam. Call me paranoid, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I clicked the first link and waited what seemed like forever for the page to load. It was a very plain page with a list of popular websites that you can scroll through on the side. I continued my search through the web links until I found a page dedicated to mystery boxes. I wanted to find one around $500 so people knew I meant business on my channel. These were relatively small, staying around 0.0125 to 0.05 Bitcoin range. I wasn't worried about being scammed. I decided to continue my search after a quick bathroom break. When I came back, I noticed that the cursor was off to the side and was able to click on a link that must have matched the background color of the website because I couldn't see it. I indulged in my curiosity and clicked the link. I was taken to a pitch black page with small white text near the top. I'm selling one random package to any brave enough to receive it for only 0.12 Bitcoin. Only one, huh? I thought to myself. I'll shoot my shot. I hit the small payment button and was asked how much I would like to spend. I entered 0.1 Bitcoin with my fingers crossed. The payment went through without any hesitation, and I instantly was met with a chat box asking me where I would want the package sent. I know it wasn't a good idea, and I regret it to this day, but the other YouTube channels used their own address often, so I thought nothing of it. I gave them my home address. I waited over a month for the box to come in, 36 days to be exact. It arrived directly on my front porch and was wrapped numerous times in red tape. I set my camera on the tripod and adjusted it to show me and the box on the small wooden table. I draped a sheet in the background so it would look more professional. I collected some gloves and scissors so I could bang out this video in one go. Hey everybody, welcome to tonight's vlog. Boy, I got a surprise for you. I continued my monologue, mentioning how I got this box and how much I paid. Without wasting further time, let's open this deep web mystery box. I grabbed the scissors and cut along the red tape. I made sure my gloves were on tight, and I ripped open the box. My brow furrows as I see just one book. Without saying a word, I take the book out of the box. I was pretty pissed. Spent over $600 on a book. Well folks, looks like we have ourselves a dud. These pages better be made of gold. The outside of the book was old and tattered. It smelled like mildew and mold. I cracked the book open to the first page and glanced over the contents. It's an old photo album. Smells like old rot. Look at these pictures. I show the camera a view of the page contents. It has 4 pictures on the first page, all labeled by days. The first picture said day 1, the second said day 2, and so on. The pictures were just taken from an old Polaroid camera. The pictures were of airplanes, random suitcases, couple of taxis, and some pretty shady motels. Looks like someone's old travel photos. I continue flipping through the pages. Every day was a different photo, of a nature of cars or trains. Day 18 held the oddest photo yet. It was just a mask, handcuffs, a gag, and a bottle of some sort of drug it looked like. These people had one hell of a fetish. I tried to keep the video interesting. I zoomed into the pictures with the camera so everyone could see it. Around day 32, things started getting weird. There was a picture of a house, but not just any house. It was a house I grew up in. My parents' house. My hands covered my mouth as I gasped for air. How was this? I was unable to form a sentence. I'm at a loss for words. Day 33. I turn the page and see a man and a woman handcuffed and gagged. I immediately expel the contents of my stomach as I see my own mom's scared and crying face and my dad, face first, in a pile of what looked like black tar. Day 34. This photo is taken inside of what looks like a vehicle. I focus my gaze on the dashboard, where there's a small photo barely visible. It's an old school photo of me. They're in my dad's truck. Day 35. Another house, but this one is much smaller. The photo is too blurry to make out any details. My hands are trembling, and all I can hear is my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I flip to the last page. I immediately throw the book down on the ground and run to the window. I jiggle the hatch frantically and throw it open. Without hesitation, I jump out and run to my neighbors. As I'm running, I turn around for a brief second. What I saw still haunts me to this day. A tall hooded figure stood in my room, looking at me through the window. He stood motionless before lifting his hand and waving. I screamed for my neighbors, who hurried me inside and called the cops. I sat there and just cried. I cried out of fear for my life. I cried for my parents. I cried because it was all my fault. My lack of common sense got my parents killed, and I will have to live with that forever. If you access the deep web, do not release your personal information, even if the people on YouTube do. Most of it's not real. And always check your boxes. It would have saved me a lot of trouble if I would have noticed that the box I received had no tracking sticker on it. It was hand delivered. The dark web ruined my life. I went on only because my uncle used to. He was really good with computers, so I guess I got my skill with technology from him. I'm not going to say how I got on there, because I don't want to make it easier for others to make the same mistake I did. Anyways, after a little while of looking around, I found a link titled Hypnotizing Scenery. I don't know what compelled me to click on it. I hadn't planned on clicking on anything at all. I just wanted to look around for a bit to soothe my curiosity, I suppose. When I clicked on it though, well, it was weird. At first it just had a bunch of normal scenery, pictures of mountains, old castles, oceans, normal stuff. Then the pictures started changing faster and faster. I couldn't even really make out what the pictures were anymore. I saw a lot of red, like maybe blood, on clothes. Maybe a mattress. I'm not sure, but it also looked like there was words all over the pictures. I couldn't read what they said in time before it switched to pictures again. Suddenly, it ended with a blank screen with white text that read, "Good luck." I feel I should mention that this was all in about 30 seconds. After it ended, I shut everything down and got into bed. The next morning, I wake up to a horrible migraine. It just wouldn't go away. When I went to school, everything seemed so loud and annoying. This one kid, Anthony in particular, was driving me insane. He kept poking me with a pencil, as he did every day. I'd tell him to stop and he would just laugh. As he did this, I kept thinking how great it would feel to just rip his arm out of its socket. Maybe poke him with a pencil in the throat, see how he likes it. I decided the next time he poked me, I would kill him. 1, 2, 3, poke. I snapped my head around, got up, ripped the pencil out of his hand so hard he fell out of his chair. I got on top of him and held the pencil to his throat, pressing harder and harder. He was grasping at my arms, trying to get me off of him, but I felt stronger than ever. He couldn't manage to push me off, as a trickle of blood began running down the side of his neck. That's when the principal, the vice principal, and 3 janitors managed to pull me off. Suddenly I heard all the screaming and commotion. All 35 students of the class crowded against the wall in the corner, with the teacher gasping for air, crying, and backing up against her desk. My parents came and got me 20 minutes later. The cops were never called, and I guess the kids' parents decided not to call them and not press charges. Not sure why. I would have. I was expelled from school, however, and my parents were pretty angry. I don't know what came over me, as I had that pencil against his throat. All I could think about was how great I felt, invincible, free, and powerful. Now, I just felt like the same 16-year-old, 5'3", 120 pound, small girl I was the day before, and my migraine was back. Great. I remember that it all started to fade away as I tackled Anthony. I tried to get some sleep, but all I could think about is how he got away. I wanted him dead, bloody on the ground and grasping for breath. I wanted to kill him. I wanted to be the last thing he saw before he died. I couldn't believe I was thinking this way. I had never been a violent person, but now that's all I was thinking about. I didn't care who it was. I just wanted to kill someone. Not just kill them, but torture them. I decided to go back to the page to see if I could find some answers. It had to be the link that did this to me. Turned me into some kind of monster. There it was, hypnotizing scenery. This time when I clicked on it though, it was a list, a set of rules. Number 1, always finish the kill. If you don't, the migraine will worsen, and quickly, you'll be dead within 4 months. Number 2, take it slow. Don't finish it off too soon, or the migraine will return faster. Number 3, don't be stupid. Don't get caught. Number 4, leave the mark, something for them to remember me, a small J carved into their forehead. Number 5, you are my creation. I've made you to continue my legacy. Don't fight it, it's not worth it. I'm now 26 years old and I've killed countless numbers of people. Anthony was my first official kill, only 3 months after the incident, when I couldn't handle my migraines anymore. I don't think that I'm me anymore. My creator will probably see this, and it might end me, but I wanted to write this as a warning before the monster takes over again. Don't go on the dark web, it's not worth it. I started doing it on a whim. My brother had an unhealthy obsession with online vloggers. I can barely go a day without him linking me to a video of someone taking part in some sort of challenge or some sort of social experiment. So when this whole deep web mystery box trend started, I was one of the first to know. My brother must have sent me dozens of videos of annoying preteens opening boxes full of junk that they tried to pass off as creepy and sinister. When my brother asked me for my opinion, I told him that it combined all the boredom of unboxing videos with all the stupidity of the Tide Pod challenge. I added that most of them were probably making the boxes themselves. Even I could do it. And then the wheels started turning. A quick search confirmed that it was a growing trend, with hundreds of people claiming to have opened up boxes containing everything from drugs to murder weapons to mystery flash drives. Some vloggers even claimed that they had spent thousands of dollars on a single mystery box. Those were obviously fake, but what about the rest? Were there really people out there who would spend at least $100 for a chance to go viral? I bet that they would, and unfortunately, I was right. Putting the mystery box together was easier than I expected. I had some cardboard boxes stuffed in the back of my closet that turned out to be perfect size for the job. Some rusty screwdrivers provided as perfect murder weapons. My desk drawer offered a surprising number of old flash drives. I had made mystery box ready by filling them with as many creepy videos as I could download. Finally, some expired sinus tablets provided me with some mysterious deep web drugs once I peeled the labels off. Getting the website set up on the deep web was a little harder, but you can find an online tutorial for anything these days. By the time I was ready for bed, I was the proud owner of Emporium of Mysteries. For $50 of Bitcoin, anyone could be a proud owner of a mystery box. Sure, the site looked like it came straight out of the 90s, but it was good enough. I was in business. The next morning, I went looking for customers. Fortunately, my brother's messages had made me very familiar with the online vlogging community. I messaged a few of the smaller channels with some burner accounts that I had made and left a few comments on their latest videos. You should do a deep web unboxing video. You know what would be really cool? Unboxing something from the deep web. I bet you get millions of views. I heard about this new place on the deep web called Emporium of Mysteries. They sell mystery boxes there. You should check them out. Then all I had to do was sit back and wait. By the end of the day, I had 6 purchases. Not much all put together, but enough to put food on the table. By the end of the afternoon, I had the boxes ready to ship. I wasn't looking to scam these people after all. They still got to make their stupid videos, and I got to eat. Everyone was happy. I sold a few more over the next few weeks, but eventually, interest died down. Life went on. My brother sent me more stupid videos, and I gradually forgot about the time that I was a deep web merchant. Until last Friday, when I got home and there was a package waiting for me outside my apartment door. I picked it up and examined it. I realized that it was one of my mystery boxes. It looked like it had an unhappy customer, but it wasn't like they were getting their money back. I took it inside and opened it. It was empty, other than a flash drive that I did not recognize. I was curious to see what was on it, but I wasn't about to let some distinguished hacker infect my computer, so I got my old laptop that I hardly use anymore and plugged it in. It was full of pictures. Pictures of my hometown, of my apartment, of me. Whoever sent this had been following me, had been inside my home. Staring at those pictures, I started to recognize just how out of my depth I was. You see, not everything you find on the deep web is fake. There are some people out there who do sell real mystery boxes, and they are tired of scammers like me taking away from their profits. Thankfully, they are very generous people and want to give me a second chance. So I am pleased to announce that the Emporium of Mysteries is under new management. Now, for the same low price, you can receive a genuine mystery box. It will include a special tool from my new partner's personal collection, along with a video instructing you how to use it and co-starring myself. The body part or organ extracted during the video will also be included as a special memento. Supplies are limited, so search us out in the deep web as soon as possible. We're looking forward to your business.